into the club, 'cause you're that kind of nerd.
Hello and welcome to the club that is That Kind of Nerd, a show where we talk about the things that we're passionate about, and then we judge each other on what we bring to the table. I am your host this week, CJ Millen, joined by the wonderful crew that is That Kind of Nerd, Josh Burns and Brian Thornton.
What up?
Hi.
Brian is preoccupied. He's thinking about the Phase 4 of the MCU and really trying to nail down that place. So since we relaunched this podcast, what we've normally done is everyone brings a topic and then we judge each other and award some points. But today we're doing something a little bit different. It is the official end of the Phase 4 of MCU. And I thought it'd be great for the three of us to get together and to kind of give a postmortem, right, on Phase 4. So we can talk about it as a phase to begin with and kind of talk about the overall arching impressions of it. And then we'll end, of course, with our rankings of the movie. Without further ado, let's talk about the MCU. Does anybody want to go first in particular?
Well, I think there's a disclaimer that is needed for my list, as I have not seen Black Panther: Wakanda Forever or watched The Guardian.
Nor have I.
Nor have you.
Either
okay.
one. Either one.
I haven't watched Guardians Holiday Special yet either.
Nope.
Okay.
So I'm the only one who's seen Phase 4 then in its entirety.
I will say,
go ahead.
if it's not a singing cartoon, it's not on in my house between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. right now. So it is a little difficult to get out and watch a movie nowadays.
Right. So I'm rating out of 15, not
As
out
am
of
I.
17.
Right.
As am I. And we will assume that I have some likely assumptions as to where both of those things will land, but I won't definitively rank them in my rankings.
And then the final exception is while technically I Am Groot is a Phase 4 project, I'm excluding it from this list just because it's primarily targeted for kids. Over the last few weeks, I've been reflecting on Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as well as revisiting some movies that came out earlier or I had only maybe seen once or twice. Overall, I was kind of left not fully satisfied, but okay, right? There was a lot of potential in Phase 4. I think a lot of things that are going to maybe pay off later in later phases and later movies and later projects. I think there's a lot of setup that is going to pay off. I think the highs were high and the lows were low. And overall in this phase, I think there were more lows than high points. I am really kind of seeing what they're going to do in Phase 5 to either retcon or change things that weren't properly explained. So it was fine. Out of all the phases, it's obviously not the best one, right? And I know we've had rose-colored glasses of people going, Phase 1 is so good, but when we left Phase 1, we're like, this wasn't that great, right? I get that some hindsight's going to come in later in life, but overall, relatively disappointed with Phase 4, but at least excited for what Phase 5 will bring because of the groundwork that it played off. What about you guys?
I have so many issues with everything you just said, but I'll let Josh go first.
I'm over here trying to figure out if he said anything. I know he talked for about 60 seconds.
There were words that came out of your mouth.
I'm still trying to find out if he said shit.
Listen, the stuff that was good was really good, and the stuff that was bad was super fucking bad.
If I'm going like just thematically looking at my list, it's very clear that I enjoyed the series far more than I did the movie titles. And that's, I mean, there's a heavy group of them in kind of like the top 8 there. But I think as it played out, I got more excited about the overall storyline. It's just, I think the one thing that you said that I can agree with is that it is early days and the capability is certainly there. Look, I think it's difficult to make a really solid story in a series that is 6 to 8 episodes, whatever. That you're packing in historical context. You are executing a story arc on its own and also setting up for the future, for other tie-ins. I think that's difficult to do well, and I think they did it well a whole bunch of times. So, right. I'm satisfied. It's not DC. So, I mean, we can all agree, that it is superior in every way to anything that DC is doing. Everything that DC is doing. So I can leave my thoughts there. Do I have some real lows and some highs? Sure. But like nothing that I would be like, I will never watch this again ever. Nothing. There's not one thing on here that I would say, nope, I'm never watching it again.
Oh, I've got one on my list I will never
No,
watch again,
don't.
ever.
Eternals, I've watched Eternals 3 times. Is it good? No. But I'm still watching it.
I agree more with Josh, obviously, because he actually had something to say, right? He didn't just babble a bunch of words and then said good means good, bad means bad, right?
That is correct.
I think Phase 4 was so. Listen, and we all know I take this approach a lot, but from like a business and artistic standpoint, this was a big swing for Marvel. Not just in the stories that they were telling, but the fact that this was the years of we're going to start doing long form stories. We're going to start doing Disney Plus series. We're going to start doing 6-7 hour long movies for the most part, right? And I think they executed on that plan extremely well. To Josh's point, I think, I have a pretty healthier mix. I don't want to say I'm top heavy between series or movies, but what I will say is I have a lot less complaints about certain series than I do movies. And I think just from a character standpoint, like the characters that they picked to do these series about make sense. They're not people you're going to go buy a movie ticket for, unfortunately. Now, you might, but not necessarily, before this phase, right? I think even the bad stuff is not the worst thing I've ever seen. And I have seen some terrible movies in the grand scheme of things. Is it terrible for Marvel? Yes. To Josh's point, will I watch them again? I own them now. Like, I don't own them out of some, I have to own these things because Disney needs my money to get these things going, right? Like, I own them because I want to own them.
Yep.
So, like, were they bad? Were they bad? Sure. In the terms of Marvel has set the bar so freaking high with phases 1 through 3 that they've almost set themselves up for a fall. It inevitably had to happen this way. And thinking back to the days of Phase 1 when there was no plan and we slowly saw this plan coming into fruition, right? There's some pretty low lows in that first couple years. Let's face it, Thor: The Dark World is not a good movie.
No.
Avengers: Age of Ultron was disappointing. Like, the complete misuse of Ultron in the MCU is something that bugs me about the universe to this day.
Yep.
The nerfing of Ultron.
It's just not even the nerfing. It's just like it was so top heavy about like the Infinity Stones, and I get it. We were setting up Thanos for 3 years later, but like you just completely took all the piss out of Ultron. Like somebody who is a serious threat, right?
Yeah.
I think they've redeemed him a little bit in the What If series, but I think, he was severely mishandled. So, look over we have these rose-colored glasses over Marvel right now because Endgame and that entire last phase was awesome. Yeah. I also want you to remember the climax of your story is usually pretty awesome. The third act of any story is usually balls to the wall, great, everything's starting to pay off, everything's starting to fall into place. And like, think about the first couple years. There were some high highs and there were some pretty low lows. And now we're at a point with Endgame where we went out on a high. We've hit the reset button. We need to rebuild. And so you're getting more of a phase 1 vibe from this phase. And quite honestly, you're getting more of a phase 1 vibe from characters you don't know. And everybody, we talk about this all the time. Everybody wants to get their nose out of joint because no more Iron Man, no Captain America. Well, what do you expect?
Yeah.
You think these characters are going to stick around forever? You think Robert Downey Jr. doesn't want to do more with his career than just Iron Man? I know he loves playing the character, but the man was in 8 movies as Iron Man? I think we're good. That character had an arc.
I think we got his arc. I think we got it.
That character had an arc across 8 movies. Like,
right.
If it didn't end the way it ended, you would then be complaining about, there's nothing new to do with Tony Stark. Man, right? Like, his arc is over. Like, if we kept bringing him back, right? So, like, it's one of these things that damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think Marvel's doing the best thing that they can. And quite frankly, they're doing a lot of series and a lot of things to try and make you fall in love with new characters. And honestly, for the most part, it's worked.
Yeah.
There's a ton of new characters that have been introduced that are either going to take on a larger role or be a recurring character that I absolutely love. And so from that standpoint, from an artistic standpoint, I think this was a very well done phase. Is it the best phase of the MCU? No. Phase 3 is always going to be the best phase until we get to Phase 6 and everything pays off with Kang and Secret War, and then we'll be debating, what was better, Secret War or Endgame? Right? So, I think this was a fine phase. I highly enjoyed it. I loved a lot of stuff. Did I hate some stuff? Yeah, absolutely. But we'll get into that as we get into the list.
I think Josh brought up a really good point, though, that the main highlights, not only from fans but also from critics, and even just from a storytelling perspective, definitely came off on the Disney Plus series, right? Disney and Marvel, they made a huge bet on taking some of these characters and just being like, we're not going to put them in a movie. We're going to give you, an 8-hour movie, right, on Disney Plus to tell the story. Stick along with us. And it really paid off. So much so that I think we all agree. I don't think we would have watched Hawkeye as a movie, right? I don't think that would have been a movie we all
I would have, but okay.
Clamored to the theater to see. All right. I mean, we would have seen it, but I think it did justice better as a series.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was a bet that has paid off, because to your point, Brian, I don't think people would have rushed to buy tickets to go see Miss Marvel, but they will now. And when she shows up in the Marvels movie, I think there's going to be a broader audience who knows her, and it won't be a lot of, by the way, in case you missed it, here's that one panel where we talk about go see this other thing to go talk about Miss Marvel. You get that little Stan's explanation, thing like you do in comics. I think people are going to actually have a better understanding of who she is and know their story. And even some of the things that we see in other series, it does a great job of just saying, take the risk, take the time to get to know the character, and let's have the artistic fun for it. And this was a phase where they got to have artistic fun. Try new styles, new directions, just new ways of kind of telling a superhero story, because they got to figure out what works now. Everyone keeps saying it's the same cookie cutter formula over and over again. I like the fact that they took risks. Some of the risks didn't pay off, but the ones that did really paid off. And I think that's going to be a blueprint for moving forward. This is very director, creator centric when you're launching these projects in this phase, that for when it worked. And when it didn't, it kind of hurt you a little bit.
I think one of the best points that Brian made, and I want to make sure we don't kind of gloss over it. And CJ, you repositioned it a little bit as a creator, director type driven thing, but this is it's almost in like a paradigm shifting or forced paradigm breaking kind of way, taking the taking the fanboy and going, you don't get to dictate like how we build the story.
Absolutely.
You can't say, no, this is not my Marvel. Like, right. You can't, right? You're not allowed. Basically, by doing it the way they're doing it, not having a familiar arc, not having going back to the well time and again, right? And trying out different storylines, marketing to different audiences, going after, I'd say, completely different demographics than they ever had. It's an interesting approach, and one that I think it kicks True Believer in the face a little bit, but is necessary for long-term success, right? So that no generation, having watched all these movies, let's hope over decades after decades, can go, they were not as good as the originals, or they weren't, and this
right.
story isn't true to the it just they're doing something that's saying, you don't know what it's going to be. We have a general idea, but we've built in some wiggle room.
They call that out directly, like in She-Hulk, but I think your bigger point comes back to there's a video of Stan Lee talking about Marvel, right? How Marvel will always stand for the little guy. Marvel will always stand for anybody, right? Marvel is a welcoming universe, right? And the man next to you, that's your brother. The woman across from you, that's your sister, right? He has got this beautiful speech about that. And I think to your point, Phase 4 is opening the doors to let more people in, right? Not gatekeeping people into the MCU. I think it's letting people
I will
in.
take your Stan Lee speech and I'll one up you another Stan Lee speech. There is a very well known interview when Stan Lee is talking about the creation of Spider-Man. We all know Stan Lee was a dramatic, and he who knows how true this story is, and a storyteller. That's what he was, right? So I'll preface this by saying that, but he tells this story about creating Spider-Man. And that he had this idea for a long time, right? About having this kid in high school with spider powers who could, or insect type powers. He didn't exactly know it was a spider just yet. But he had done Fantastic Four. Editor at then Timely Comics, coming into Marvel Comics, was very pleased and was like, "Hey Stan, what else do you got?" And he's like, "Well, hey, I've got this thing. I've got this Spider-Man pitch." And the editor was like, "Oh, we can't do that. We can't do that. Audiences don't want a kid as their main hero. They need a kid. Kids are sidekicks. They're Bucky. They're Robin. No one likes spiders. People are afraid of spiders. This is no good. This is never going to work. We're not going to publish it." And Stan Lee pretty much said, "Oh yeah, okay, fine." And he went. He worked on it. And he pretty much saw that there was a book that was about to end, Amazing Fantasy, and he said, "Screw it. I'm just going to put it in here. We're killing the book anyway." And we all know what happened, right? And the end of that story is he says verbatim, "If you have an idea, and it's a good idea, and it's a really good idea, don't let some idiot talk you out of it." And I firmly believe that is the MCU's mission statement with Phase 4, with moving forward. It's just like, we have the plan, we know the roadmap, we have the idea. Whether it's true believers or not, Josh, I'll fight you on the fact whether or not this was a kick in the face to true believers. I think this was a kick in the face to more of the social media moguls who want to sit there. The fanboys, the fake fanboys, the real fanboys, the people who are on TikTok, the people who are on Facebook, the people who want to go on Rotten Tomatoes, who think they have an opinion that matters. And you don't. You don't. I say that as someone who comes on a recorded podcast and says everything that I feel about the Marvel Universe and everywhere I think it should go and everywhere I hope it goes. But at the end of the day, when it doesn't go my way, I'm also not sitting there being like, "Oh, well, it didn't go my way. They didn't listen to me. This is trash," right? And that's who it's a kick in the teeth to. It's to all the, quite frankly, idiots who want to sit there and make whine online and say, "This is not the story we want." Well, you don't get to dictate the story. We have a good idea. We know what the roadmap is. You will either be on board or you won't, and we're fine with either one. But, we're going to do what we're going to do. And that is the mission statement of Phase 4, in my opinion. And I think, to that regard, absolutely. I think it's great.
So we got them in 5s. Do you want to count them down that way? Do you want to go worst to first, or the other way?
Worst to first.
Well, I guess you guys have them in 5.
Let's just do worst to first. So let's end on number 1.
You have 17, CJ. I mean, so you'll do them 6, 6, 5. We'll do 5, 5, 5.
Sure.
I mean, I think we're all going to agree on what's going to be last, and I think we're also all going to agree on what's going to be first. So let's just...
That's probably very true.
I have a feeling that our number 1s and our numbers 15s or 17s are the same, and then everything else in the middle would be negotiable.
All right.
But how
Did anybody have anything other than Eternals in the last spot?
No.
Nope.
Eternals was 1,000% the worst Marvel movie.
And Spider-Man in the first spot.
Yeah.
Yep. Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, as it should be, right?
So now that we got that out of the way,
objectively out of the way, right? Done, right? We can all appreciate that.
And I think, let's face it, I think anybody would agree with us, right?
So here's my thought on this, right? Which is, we just talked about how successful Disney Plus series were, right? And how we enjoyed them and got the opportunity. In my opinion, Eternals would have been a great Disney Plus series. Give me 8, 10 episodes, 8 hours to get to know. There's so many people. There's so much time to cover. Give me a Disney Plus series with Eternals, and I probably would have put that in my top 5 immediately.
A Disney Plus series with a different writer.
Well, let's be real. One of the biggest problems with Eternals is the fact, and it's the problem with a lot of ensemble casts. There's too many people. There's too many people that you want to focus on. There's too many people you're trying to flesh out. You don't go into it knowing anything about anyone, so you're kind of trying to build the story around 10 people and still make it interesting and still tell a plot somewhere in there, right? And it was a mess. I think we can all agree. You do that in a Disney Plus format. If you do that in an 8 or 10 episode series, now all of a sudden, cool. We have one episode that focuses on one of the Eternals. And then, like, it can all kind of congeal together. Like, that's the way you should have done this.
Yeah, and even the love story of Icarus and Cersei would have been great over a long period. They spend thousands of years together. You can't shove that in a 15-minute, shot with a terrible love scene. Like this
what I
terrible
think would
sex
be
scene.
would be
It
nice if they wanted to. What would be cool? Because I like the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I like the characters. Again, the flaw of this movie is too much in 2.5 hours. And yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the writing in this film, right?
No, the writing was
felt
bad.
longer, and that's the writing's fault. The pacing was off, right? But like, now that we ended this film, and I mean, we've all seen at this point, half the cast is gone, either traitor, dead, whatever, what have you, right? It's a perfect opportunity to do a sequel with a smaller cast. And also, what I think would be nice is we've already proven with this phase that these like little Marvel specials are effective. Give me a Marvel special and show me freaking Icarus in ancient Rome. Like, show me like, a little 45 minutes, hour snippets of what their life throughout time was. Like, I think that would be cool. I think that would be fun. But yeah, I mean, again, it's just it did not come together. It was absolutely the worst Marvel movie I've seen, but like I said, I've seen worse movies.
Yes.
So I'll absolutely watch it again.
The stinger at the end, right, where we get, I'm assuming that was Mahershala Ali's voice talking to.
It was. It's
I don't
confirmed
remember
it
the
was
character's
Mahershala.
name because that's how angry I am about the movie. Jon Snow's character with the sword, right? It sounded like Mahershala Ali coming in there. Maybe we can have
you can't even go so far as.
I'm not even going to go so far as to IMDb it.
I'm not
Marvel
even talking
will have
about that.
to
You can't even
refresh
do
me.
the actor's name. His name is Kit Harington. Like you know that, right?
Again, Kit Harington saying "I love you, Cersei" was weird. Okay, like just for a second, it was weird.
And his character's name was Dane Whitman.
Right. Okay. Does someone want to take their?
I'll go next. I'll go next.
Go for it. Just say it.
I'm trying to. But listen, if Eternals is the worst, there is a huge gaping chasm of nothingness.
Right.
Where we can
understand.
throw pretty much every DC movie in there in the grand scheme of things.
Correct.
And then this movie comes into play. I was not a fan of Thor: Love and Thunder. I think it was the second to last worst movie.
I had the exact same thing.
Okay, Josh.
I have Miss Marvel at 14.
Okay, so here we go. The differences are coming. I have Miss Marvel a lot higher, and we'll get to it in a second. I think Thor: Love and Thunder completely missed the point of a lot of things that they were
I have
trying to
Thor:
say.
Love and Thunder at 13.
Okay. All right. So you're close. You're just not
oh, yeah.
there. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Thor: Love and Thunder failed in terms of too much comedy, not enough of everything else. It was too much of the let's poke fun at like a love triangle between hammers, and not enough of we're facing the God Butcher. He should be scary. He's not, unfortunately. We are dealing with a lot of mixed feelings about an ex-girlfriend coming back into your life, and how do you reconcile with her? Oh, and by the way, she's dying of cancer. So you have to deal with that whole story. And like, there was not enough of what does Thor think of his ex-hammer hanging out with his ex-girlfriend, and like, how is that affecting him, if it's affecting him at all? I don't think this was explored appropriately.
Yeah,
and I love Chris Hemsworth.
This
just
to
did
me
not like
was
this
remember how I talked about the MCU Phase 4 was a director and creative driven thing. This was clearly they're just like, Taika, do whatever the hell you want, like go for it, write it, direct it, do your Taika thing. And this reads to me as like Bridesmaids and other like comedies that come out that are there's a script written and we're going to do that, but on the day we're going to improv a whole bunch and we'll keep the improv in the movie. Now, somewhere in your head, you already knew what the storyline was supposed to be, but it never actually came out on screen. So you just kept the improv stuff in there because you remembered the vision you had and you filled the gap as the filmmaker, but the audience is going, I don't what? Okay, what? So there were moments I got undercut by dumb comedy. I like the whole thing with Zeus felt really
That was awful.
dumb.
Yeah, that was awful. And why would you pay all that money to have Christian Bale there?
You know what? He was the only highlight for me that was
He
like,
was, but
amazing job, right? Way to
he
go,
wasn't in
Christian
enough of
Bale.
it.
He was not in enough of it. I even like the stylized version that when he's there, the colors suck.
He should have been far more
menacing.
Scary.
Yes.
Like we're talking about a character who is literally like the serial killer of gods.
Yeah.
Right?
And an actor who can clearly pull that off.
Who can pull that off, right? Who could be scary.
Yep.
And menacing, even in the face of big bulking Chris Hemsworth, right?
Yeah.
Like there was not enough of Thor being afraid of this dude. Like again, too much comedy, too much levity. Like this was a story. If you were going to do Gore the God Butcher, this needed to be a borderline like 7 almost, but superheroes. It needed to be darker.
The ending is cute, right? He now has a daughter. They're love and thunder together. It's really great. The way that they dealt with Jane, I thought was at the end of it. Again, at the end, kind of wrapping this up. I feel like someone was like, "We need to put you back in the Marvel box just for the last 15 minutes, if you don't mind. Just can you go here and wrap this up, please, quickly with a bow?" It just such a letdown. So Josh, though, if Brian and I agree on Thor: Love and Thunder, what was in your spot?
He said Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel. Yeah.
Okay, I'd love to get your perspective on this one.
I thought just in general it was it never got out of the young adult feel for me. I didn't think it was I didn't think it had enough gravity. Like I think it was very good. Just overall, I was like, I could take or leave. And I've rewatched Thor. I've rewatched every other series at least once, if not more than once. I don't think I finished Miss Marvel.
Wow.
I will agree with you in terms of the stakes were not there.
Correct.
Right?
Yep, that's the young adult aspect.
And when the stakes were there, it got very pushed in the finale, right? All of a sudden there was a bunch of stakes, right?
Correct.
And so I'll agree with you there. But I do think the injection of the young adult vibe and the aesthetic and the actress who playing Kamala Khan, I loved all of that. I mean, quite frankly, I would have been okay if there were never any stakes and we were just kind of watching a sitcom of a girl with
that
superpowers.
art direction was incredible. I loved it.
The same reason, and I this isn't the first time I've said this about Miss Marvel or other Marvel properties in Phase 4, but my bottom 5, but not 5, Eternals was just awful. But above the gaping chasm and outside the top 10, the reason for those is exactly what I just said, right? Doctor Strange, Shang-Chi, Thor, Miss Marvel all have the same feel for me, which is not serious enough, not heavy enough, nothing. Right? Really, what happens if the good guy loses here? How does it affect my world?
I'll fight you on Shang-Chi because there are stakes in Shang-Chi.
Well, yeah, maybe, but not for probably not for the world, right?
For the world.
For the world.
The whole point is they're stopping this gate from exploding with this.
The world is completely unaware of it. And
just because the world doesn't know about it doesn't mean there's not stakes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that whatever gets out of hell there isn't going to be able to make it through the shape-shifting forest. It's just not.
I again disagree. I think that was maybe could have been explained better, but I think Shang-Chi has stakes, right? Yeah. I think Thor and Love and Thunder had stakes.
That's
too.
a different movie, Brian. I don't know what MCU you're watching.
Jeez, I have another tab up. Thor and Love and Thunder has stakes. It's just that the stakes weren't properly communicated in terms of
they weren't made clear to me at all.
This is why you should be afraid, right?
Hold on. To that same end on this though. If Daredevil didn't stop Fisk, what would have happened to the world? Nothing. Hell's Kitchen would have been in trouble, but New York City would be fine, right?
Right, but to Josh's point, let's face it. In that series, you care about Hell's Kitchen, right? And in Miss Marvel, again, it's not even that I didn't care about New Jersey. There are no stakes for New Jersey. The problem is there were no stakes even for Kamala until the end, right? With the exception of the oddball damage control coming after her. But that's it, right? It's all about her living her life, trying to understand her history, her past, while also being a high school student in Jersey. And I've cut off Josh 3 times already, so I'll just wrap it up by saying this. I don't think that earns it bottom 5. I think I have it like right in the middle. I think it's like number 6 or 7 on my list. But I think it depends on, if that's what I was expecting from the beginning is a show without stakes. There's plenty of shows without stakes. Every sitcom in the world is without stakes.
Yeah, no, it just there was like even in the supporting characters, I felt like overall these things that I have in my bottom 5, for me they lacked depth. Now,
Okay.
there could be multiple facets of that, and I'll keep going back to I didn't think that there was enough gravity. That I could mean depth, it could mean stakes, it could mean that the characters weren't developed well enough. Thor was a joke. We get that. Shang-Chi, I felt like a large there was far too much comic relief in there, and much of it was silly. Doctor Strange should have been far darker than it was. Juxtaposed against the things that we looked at in our favorite movie, right? Which really, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, it's kind of the same thing, but it didn't feel like the same thing, even close to the same thing.
So, okay, so I'm still stuck. Listen, I'm not going to fight you on Doctor Strange. I have well-known complaints about Doctor Strange. In fact, it is also in my bottom 5, but I am going to continue to fight you on Shang-Chi. When's the last time you watched Shang-Chi? Because I know you rewatch movies constantly. I don't.
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
2 weeks ago.
I am not so sure there is as much comedy in that movie as you feel there is. There is Awkwafina,
and she was reined in. I was so happy to see that.
Listen, for someone who does not care for her, like she was reined in, but she is like the comedic sidekick, right? Mm-hmm. But really, any other comedy coming from that film is from Trevor Slattery and the little footrest doggy thing. But that's it, right? Once he's introduced, and every scene that he's in, it's a little comedic. But this is a story. It's huge stakes, not just for Sean, but the world. It's also a story about a father and a son, like figuring out their shit and reconciling and trying to figure out what their relationship should be and is going to be. I think you're looking at this film on a pure giant destroying world beam in the sky Avengers viewscape, and not so much as the terms that the movie is coming to you on, which is this is a movie about again, and the same thing with Miss Marvel, right? It's about them figuring out who they are, what their past is, whether that be based in family, whether that be based in culture, whatever the case may be, right? It's all about Shang-Chi reconnecting with his family and, finding out that his dad doesn't want to exactly do the greatest thing, but, what does that mean? What do you do as a son? Do you just, stand up and just take him down? Do you help him? Like, there's all of that is in there. Yeah. And I think Shang-Chi is a lot more nuanced than you're giving it credit for. And I think Miss Marvel is a lot more nuanced. I will agree with you with Miss Marvel, whereas the stakes weren't prevalent. It was literally like 7 episodes of fluff and then 1 episode of crap, things are happening, right? And, that take it or leave it. Like I said, personally, if you wanted to make just a dopey-ass sitcom of Miss Marvel trying to figure out what boy she's going to take to homecoming, I would have been completely fine with that too. It's the giant shift, right? Here is the mission statement in Miss Marvel. We are going to have fun. It's going to be bubblegum. It's going to be popcorn. It's going to be not a whole lot of stakes, but we are going to explore themes of family. We're going to explore themes of young person having superpowers. The things that Spider-Man should explore.
Yeah, exactly.
But it didn't get a chance to explore in these films because we threw him in as a package deal with the Avengers, and that is a necessity based on the deal with Sony. But we got to explore all those things with Kamala, and then the shift happens, and that's where the show gets a little less good for me.
I think the showdown in the school was super rushed. Same thing again. What happens even if they get caught, right? Like things will be bad. How will they be bad? I don't really know. Okay, well, fight them anyway. Fight those faceless stormtroopers, right? I can definitely agree with that. However, the thing for me for Ms. Marvel is the art direction and the creative things that they do to showing different locations, her traveling, the text messages. Oh,
Your
man.
argument is invalid. Josh does not give a shit about
I don't
art
care.
direction.
I'm not trying to convince Josh. Josh has already made up. Josh, is there any convincing you? Hell no. I don't care about that. Now we're just talking
you're
about
not
Ms.
changing
Marvel.
my mind on these
That's
bottom
fine.
5.
Those were the things that were incredible to me, as well as even just like, hey, time for another superhero property to teach me about history I didn't know about, right? Watchmen did it once before, and now Ms. Marvel does it. So, like, a really great direction for me on that one. I will say the final part of getting the stakes and making it important, let's just bullet shoot that right at the end, right? And everyone take the stakes at the end and deal with it. But I couldn't put it that low. But I understand, again, it's skewing young adult. It didn't get the opportunity to finish it. I could completely understand why and why you put it where it is. So I'm good to accept it and ready to go on to the next one.
Oh yeah, I'm fine accepting that. I'll still fight you on Shang-Chi.
We'll fight Shang-Chi later when it comes up in the rankings.
Well, it's
I'm
next,
sure
isn't it?
We'll do it.
Is Doctor Strange next on your list, or is Shang-Chi next on your list?
No, I have Falcon and the Winter Soldier next.
Get out.
Walk.
CJ, hang on, Josh. I'm sorry. I swear to God, CJ and I did not talk about this before we started recording. It's next on my list too.
Flag Smashers was the biggest waste of time ever. I understand that the pandemic changed their storyline and they had to really kind of cut some shit together quick. I don't care. You don't get a pass for that.
I think you do. I think you get a little understanding.
I think
it doesn't make it any better.
Yeah, I think you could cut it out. I think you could focus all on the superhero, the super serum projects and Isaiah, right? Was that the
Isaiah Bradley?
Thank you. I think this would have been a better movie, not a series. I would have watched a 2.5-hour Falcon Winter Soldier movie. Get rid of the Flag Smashers, focus on the superhero part with Isaiah Bradley, and I would have been happy.
You're overlooking that basically Sam and his sister, his family, are going through the same thing that the Flag Smashers stand for. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
No, not absolutely. You're overlooking. You said you could do without that, and you can't, because not only did it. It's the part of the story that made Sam Captain America.
It's the backbone of the story. I disagree with CJ.
I don't think I need to see it in parallel. No, I think I can see it.
I think it's
through
necessary.
Their point of view.
I absolutely think it's necessary, and
it is the thing that made him Captain America.
It's the thing that drives his decision to put on that new suit at the end. But it's also this juxtaposition of, because if any good movie or show is supposed to make you feel like, okay, what would I do? Okay, here's one extreme and here's the other. What would you do? Right? Like, and do I think the Flag Smasher story got screwed up? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a reason it's low on my list, right? But I'm not going to go as far as say you could cut that whole thing out. What I will say is, out of that entire series, the stuff with US Agent was way more interesting to me.
Yes.
The stuff with Isaiah Bradley was way more interesting to me. But I don't think you could remove that and still have Sam make the decision he makes at the end.
As it exists, you're absolutely correct. But if you have the American, if you have Isaiah Bradley and you have the story that's going on with the U.S. Agent, I think that's enough that if you craft it, you can make the extremes of which one would you pick, and that could lead into the Captain America search.
The displaced people, right? All they're trying to do is fight for their place.
Yes.
And the other thing you also need to remember,
but you can get that exact storyline out of Isaiah Bradley.
Listen, this is the one series, and I agree with you, Josh. I'm fighting for you, I promise. But this is the one series that directly spins out of the events of the snap. Like, that doesn't pass it off as a joke. That actually explores what is, like, half the world's population disappeared, and now all of a sudden they're back.
Yeah.
How does that affect the world, right? And that was the conversation I was interested in. Do I think it was effective? No. I think it could have been handled way better, which is why it's low on my list, right?
I have it directly in the middle. It is right in the middle of my list.
I have this low on my list because that story needed to be told better. Let's face it, we all know that the original plan was, hey, we're going to do a virus, and we didn't want to do that because pandemic, and I get it, right? Do I think there was a way to make that story better even without the Flag Smasher Swine release of virus? Yes. Do I think it would have fit in the timeline that Marvel was trying to do? No, and so they rushed it out, and they probably should have held on to this and wrote around it, and then reshoot some scenes and re-release it.
Right,
but
you're doing your question talking from last week again.
What are you talking about? Yeah, no.
Do I think this is a good way to phrase this question?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do. But listen,
do I think I'm making my point very emphatically? Goddamn right I am.
Yeah, because it doesn't give you any.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just recognizing
listen,
a personal
here's the thing:
habit.
if you're not going to ask me the question, I'm going to ask it myself. All right, and so I don't think this show is bad by any means. In fact, like, this is the first low tiered project that I have low tiered that I would still say I really enjoyed it. This is still a good tier. The other thing that really,
this is the gaping chasm argument for me. Again, there's a gaping chasm, and then
But
Falcon
this is the other thing,
comes.
and Josh, this is where I'm going to tell you this is why it's low on my list. The other thing that really hurts this series for me is we talked about a misuse of Ultron. There was a complete misuse of Baron Zemo in here.
Oh my god!
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing with him. And again, there could be plans. I think maybe the idea was, okay, let's bust him out, right? Maybe the idea was just let's bust him out for later plans, right? But I don't think it was a really great use of him. I also don't think Sharon Carter was done any justice in this series.
Oh,
and
she was turned into a villain.
And that's what upsets me, right? Like, I'm interested to see where it's going, but like, I don't know why. Like, whatever project they do with her next, I need to have a whole hell of a lot of backstory over what happened over the 5 years during the blink.
She went to Everwood, and she got fucked up.
I don't know why she's doing the things that she's doing, and that's what upsets me the most out of the show is the complete misuse of those two characters. Really great characters that could have been great. This could have been. I really would have loved to see the show lean more into the espionage spy thriller that it was advertised to be, instead of, we got more of just a action. We got more Captain America, and as much as I love Captain America, I was expecting more of a subdued action show.
I really appreciated, though, the depth and the jumping into the exploration of the psychological effects that these guys went through as superheroes. I loved the fact that what they did for Bucky. I liked how they showed the realistic experiences that Sam has to face, and why it was so important at the end that he is called Captain America. I absolutely loved that. It was everything else about that series that it didn't land for me. The finale did, unlike Ms. Marvel, unlike Thor, right? Unlike where the third act was like, this feels really forced. The third act in this one felt really fleshed out and really important to discuss. It was just everything before. Week to week, I was bored. Just bored.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I wouldn't say I was bored, but like I said, I definitely think there was opportunities, way more opportunities in this than some of the other series.
So, Josh, what was on your list then? What?
His third is Doctor Strange.
Thor, Shang-Chi.
Oh, Shang-Chi is next.
Doctor Strange. That rounds out my bottom five.
So I've already fought you a tongue on Shang-Chi, so I'm not going to keep fighting you. I will tell you it is actually in my top five.
Wow. Yeah, Christian has it there too. I don't understand why.
Well, listen, get Christian on here and we'll commiserate
we'll
as much
talk
as
it up. It would have been in my top five if it wasn't for one of the projects.
No. He takes these extreme viewpoints, like Shang-Chi is a top 5 Marvel property, and I told him to get.
I don't think it's top 5 Marvel.
I told him he's gonna have to find someplace else.
Absolutely not. No,
I think it's top 5 in Phase 4, and I think it's because, we're looking at the first introduction of a character that's not named Iron Man, Captain America, Thor.
Yeah, look, he's 15, so anything that happened in the last 5 days or so is the best thing.
Everything new is good, right?
Right.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
But my argument as far as why this movie is belongs higher on that list is just this movie did give me those Phase 1 feels again. And this is essentially like the second movie that kicked off Phase 4. So, I mean, that's what you want out of a movie that is introducing a new character, a new world. I loved, the mythical aspect of it. And I loved how we got to fix all the things that I complained about with the Mandarin in Iron Man 3.
Yep.
This was a nice little retcon. It makes sense. Trevor Slattery is still a thing, but this is also the thing. It fixes it without negating Iron Man 3, right? And I just thought it was very well done. And I think it was a good introduction to this character who I am looking forward to seeing in future projects. So when it came to my ranking, it really came down to how excited was I after watching this project or leaving the theater? How much did I want to talk about the project afterwards? And whereas I'm sure there are going to be things that you have higher on your list that I have lower on my list, this was a movie that I left the theater. I was like, oh wow, this made me feel very good about Phase 4 going into it, right? And I think it deserves a little bit more credit.
And I think it also threaded the needle of doing the thing of Eternals was over a long period of time. The initial part, the first part of Shang-Chi was a long period of time. It made me interested. Then Brian, did you have something different then after Falcon?
I have Doctor Strange.
Okay. I have Black Widow.
Really? I have Black Widow a little bit higher.
It just if it had come out earlier, it would have been a lot higher. I love Yelena. I love the end of it. It felt like a Bourne movie. I don't know. It felt like generic action film.
Whatever you're about to say, that's what it's supposed to be, though.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be a Bourne film with Black Widow.
Yeah, but it didn't do a good job of it.
False.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you on that. And
Love
even
Yelena.
though
you know me, I love my Florence Pugh.
Oh,
it's number
Yelena's
14 on my
amazing.
list.
That's crazy talk. I can't believe you're still talking about number 14.
Well, I'm on 17 movies, so this is number 14 for me.
He's on 17.
Okay.
Let's talk more about Black Widow a little bit, because I'm assuming, I know I have it a little higher. I'm sure Josh has it a little higher.
6.
Okay, I have it a little lower than 6. My next is something Josh and I can talk about why it's in the bottom 5, and it is Doctor Strange.
Right, that was right after Black Widow.
So
for me.
that would be what?
Yep. For me, this was number 13. I think we're all in agreement. I think Doctor Strange did not stick the landing. Yeah, Doctor Strange had such promise. I think it didn't use the multiverse effectively at all. I think there was that one scene where they go through all the different art styles and and that was the multiverse. Okay, bye.
I think it didn't use Doctor Strange effectively.
No, it either. It was a Wanda movie.
Right.
This is a Scarlet Witch film. This is a Scarlet Witch and featuring America Chavez, right? Like, Doctor Strange is just a passenger in a movie that is named after him. The best part of this film is the music note fight between him and
cool.
evil Doctor Strange. Like,
Hold
I
on,
thought that was
can
great.
I take a moment? You are the only person I've spoken to who appreciates that scene.
I love that
was
scene.
so cool.
That
Nobody
scene
else cares about that scene. I love that
The
scene.
the harpchord set the whole thing off. That was great.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
That scene, for all of you complaining that, oh, this wasn't very Sam Raimi, that scene is the most Sam Raimi of Sam Raimi-ness I have ever Sam Raimi'd before.
With the exception of having Bruce Campbell in it, yeah.
That entire scene is very Sam Raimi.
Love it.
So, and it is the best part of the film, but I agree with Josh. It needed to be darker. It needed to showcase the multiverse, not just 3 places.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get a bunch of snippets and vignette. There's in that whole we're going through 18 different universes. We'll show you them at 0.3 seconds at a time. There's a very small sliver that is the noir, the Marvel noir universe, and I'm like, I want to go there.
Hang out for a little bit, y'all.
Please take me there.
Hang out for more than 3 seconds.
But instead, you land in a universe that is just. Here, random universe where we can have these characters together and explain it away for our story, for plot purposes.
My favorite was the exposition shop that you can walk by, where you stand there and it'll go through your memories, so that way we can tell the audience what
Here's
we want
why
to do.
America Chavez is America
We want to
Chavez,
tell
right?
you what we want to remember and how to feel. Can you stop here at the shop for a moment?
Yeah, it was
just
you want to talk about promise. That movie had promise.
And again, as the director centric creator, I mean, that movie screams Sam Raimi, which it does.
I think the direction does. I don't know if this is the story.
No,
Sam
I don't
Raimi
think the
wanted to
story
tell.
does at all. I think the direction does, right? I mean, you look at that and that's Sam Raimi. Absolutely. I don't think the story does it justice at all. And I think we all agree that Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is lower on the MCU.
So really, we're pretty much agreed with the bottom 5, except Josh has Shang-Chi and Miss Marvel. whereas we don't. And we have Falcon and Winter. I have Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Right. And I put Black Widow in there to piss you off.
Oh, okay. It's good to know that that's the reason why.
No, that's not the reason why. I really do feel that movie is in the
Josh,
bottom five.
did you want to say anything else about Doctor Strange? I know you were talking about Doctor Strange and Shang-Chi and Miss Marvel as a whole, right? But is there anything in particular you want to say about Doctor Strange as to why it's where it is on your list?
What I said briefly was that we had already seen the multiverse from that perspective in Spider-Man. Right? So if you're going to call the movie The Multiverse of Madness, there should be a lot more multiverse.
Or madness.
Or madness.
I'll take either one.
Yeah. And I agree. I agree with the viewpoint that this is more of a Scarlet Witch feature. Fine. I just, more multiverse, right?
Yeah.
Like we got way more multiverse out of Loki.
Yeah.
Than we did out of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Which Loki is not even supposed to be about multiverse. It's supposed to be about timelines.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree, Josh. Like, more multiverse, more madness. And if you're going to have Scarlet Witch be the villain, like, I need more explanation. Because of where we left her at the end of WandaVision, it just didn't jive right. It didn't make sense.
She was banana sandwich.
She was a banana sandwich at the end of WandaVision. She was banana sandwich at the beginning
of you're saying how did she go from to banana sandwich?
Right. She how did she go from at the end of WandaVision? She's reconciled, right? She's reconciled the fact that I can't do this anymore, and she's gotten
Wanda,
through her
we were on a really good path there.
Right.
Stop taking my meds.
I'm sorry, guys.
Right.
Every time I stop taking my meds, I create a whole universe.
Yeah, Daenerys forgot.
That's right.
This is the Daenerys forgot of the MCU, right? It's just, she forgot she had come to peace with things.
And that's a big sticking thorn in my side about this film is
I think
our main baddie, where I understand where she's coming from, I don't understand why she's there.
I think that WandaVision was in production and wrapping up when they were doing and writing Multiverse of Madness, that they had never seen WandaVision when they were making Multiverse of Madness. So again, the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing. But yeah, it was like this Daenerys forgot moment of, oh yeah, now she's crazy again. Why? We just have the whole story where she got over this. Because the script said so. Oh, right, the script said so. Okay.
Well, and then here's the Band-Aid. Here's the Band-Aid, the Darkhold. It was like, oh, okay.
Oh, God, yeah, no. Piss off with that.
That's not enough. That's not enough of an explanation. I get it. She misses her children. Oh, and this thing corrupts and makes people evil.
Sure.
Okay.
Good fun.
I guess.
Right. But it was in the last 15 minutes of the movie where she was like, oh, wait, I opened the door.
Shit.
Oh, shit, guys, I forgot. I left the light on.
Like, I'm watching the movie going, wait a minute.
My bad. You know what, though? Can we there's one thing that I do want to acknowledge. They at this point, they're just like, hey, fan service, now shut the fuck up. Here's John Krasinski.
Here's John Krasinski.
Here's the X-Men.
Look, we've introduced the mutant name.
Yep. Here you go. Okay, now we're gonna murder all of them. So now you can say canonically that John Krasinski was Mr. Fantastic. Now, when we're ready to do Fantastic Four, if he's not there, you can't complain. Now, shut up and let us move on.
I Wanda mow through.
Yeah,
all of these
just in one scene. Captain Carter.
Cut Captain Carter in half. Yeah,
get everyone. Oh yeah, just the way you went through that scene. It said, "We did it. All right, is everyone happy? Okay, we're out. Goodbye." Mwah! Thank you for doing it. And again, that comes back to shutting the fanboys and the true believers, the non-true believers, the influencer believers, to shut the fuck up. You do not get to write these scripts.
Another Sam Raimi of Sam Raimi-ness scene. Like, I don't understand the critics who was like, oh, I don't see Sam Raimi in any of this. He is all over that scene.
Absolutely.
And he's all over the harp scene. Like, I don't understand that. Like, the things I liked about this movie.
I'm not privy to this conversation. I don't know that I've ever had I don't see Sam Raimi in this conversation.
There are people out there,
everywhere.
Josh.
Every critic, everybody was like, oh, this just doesn't, it seems like Marvel stole Sam Raimi's voice. Yeah.
Right. I guess I just didn't engage in that much, social media bullshit.
They never saw an Evil Dead film is really what it breaks down to. They've never watched Evil Dead. They've never seen Army of Darkness. They don't know what Sam Raimi does. And like, even in, like, I would argue that the Spider-Man films erased more of Sam Raimi than this film does.
Yeah.
Because like you saw Spider-Man after watching him do Evil Dead, and you're like, this doesn't feel
Especially
right. Except for
Spider-Man 3.
one scene. Like, there's always an homage in that original trilogy. There's always one scene that's very Raimi, right? And the rest is very much like, okay, Raimi-esque. It's like Raimi on...
He's here directing. The AD did the directing.
Raimi when he's had a little bit of chocolate, right? Like he's feeling good. This was way more Raimi than even the Spider-Man films were.
All right,
I don't want to dwell too much on this film.
Can I move on one that I know I'm wrong, but I just don't know where to place it? So I just put it where I could. And that is after our Multiverse of Madness, I have What If. I really enjoyed What If. I thought it was fun.
That's where I have it.
But like, it should just go here because there are other things that are better.
Right.
But it just was.
I have it at 10 because I went right for like a oh, wouldn't this be cool? Yeah. It was better than the shitty ones, and it has no impact on anything. So let's put it right here.
Yeah.
I have Werewolf by Night right above What If.
I have Moon Knight there.
You have Moon Knight there?
I have Moon Knight there.
The fuck?
And I knew this was my controversial choice.
I'm sorry.
Low.
I'm sorry. What? Listen, I can understand Josh's point of view, and you better be Josh level right here to defend.
I'm going to explain. Mm-hmm. This was also one of those things where I was like, I know where I want everything else. I don't know where I want this, and this is just where it ended up being. But my biggest issue with this, I loved the series. Don't get me wrong. Oscar Isaacs carries the series on his back.
Right.
The ending whiffed it for me. The ending is just, you want to talk about giant, like, death ray from the sky. Like, that's what this ending was. We have Khonshu fighting giant alligator god, and then we get a blackout. And then, everything's wrapped up. That's how that finale went. I never get to see Moon Knight truly be Moon Knight. And I get a lot of the inner workings of his mind, which I loved. I loved all the multiple personalities, the conversations between the different personalities and between Mark and Steve and what that means and dissecting his psychiatry, right? But there are, 4 scenes of Moon Knight. One where I see him just finishing up a fight in a bathroom. One where I see him kind of fly around and get his ass kicked. And then the end where he blacks out and I don't see him be Moon Knight. That's frustrating to me.
Is this where I get to be Brian for Miss Marvel and just kind of like use basically the exact same argument you made on Miss Marvel for this? Like, yes, they yada yada the action, right? All the time. They just held it over you and never let you climax.
This is not about yada yada in the action.
I know they did that, right? We're acknowledging they did this. Yes. They yada yada over a lot of action, right? And that is not pleasing to us. This show was about all the internal conflict. That's what the whole thing was about. So I don't care about the giant things punching other giant things.
It was
about the internal conflict of Mark.
I mean, there definitely wasn't. There are 2
Josh,
stories.
help me out with this. You don't have Moon Knight this low, do you?
No, of course he doesn't.
I have it at 4.
Thank you.
This is my controversial pick. There are 2 stories at play at Moon Knight. There is the internal conversation between Steven and Mark, and then there is also the Minority Report story of the ethics of judging people before they've done anything wrong. And what this Egyptian god wants to do is pretty much quell a lot of the world's populations over something they haven't done yet. And we never get that conversation between him and Harrow. We have it for a brief snippet in episode 2. It never gets revisited again. And then when you think, okay, this is where it's going to happen, it's just going to happen via blows instead of conversation. We get a blackout, and then we get the ending where we just kill the dude, and that's it. There's no resolution to that part of the story, and that is an important part of the story. No matter how you want to slice it, if this was longer, they probably could have addressed it, but they didn't, and that's a problem, and it is a flaw in the series itself. Now, again, I really, really, really enjoy this series. Just in the grand scheme of Marvel Phase 4, I think other things stuck the landing much better than what Moon Knight did.
Do you have Black Widow above Moonlight?
It's right above Moon Knight.
So listen, I have the part that you're talking. These 2 stories you're talking about. I don't think that Minority Report like story is actually a story, right? I think that was just
It's the ethos of the villain.
no. It's the reason for the conflict between Khonshu and the other god. Whoever. It is the only, like, here's why there is a conflict. It is not a story. It is not to be explored. The bigger story, right, is, like you said, sort of the inner workings of this dude's mind and him coming to terms with it, and B, I'm watching it like going, they're gonna explain why Khonshu just doesn't kick this dude to the curb and get a more capable avatar, right? And they did, and that is the bigger story, is that as much as he comes to terms with his fractured mind, it is far worse than he knows, and Khonshu knows, and that's why Khonshu hasn't released him. That's the bigger story.
He doesn't need to have that argument with him. He's got the other personality to do all the dirty work.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So, and to me, that is the bigger story. I really liked the blacking out and coming to. I loved it in episode 1 through 3, but like when we're in the finale and he has come to terms with his split personalities, to then have third personality number 3 take over and to have the blackout again, it feels cheap, right? Like we already had one blackout.
No way. No.
Yes,
it
no
absolutely
chance.
Does.
No chance.
There is no victory for Mark Spector in this story, and that's my problem.
That's the point.
That's the point.
That's the whole point,
You
Brian.
need to have some sort of closure, especially since this is supposed to be
the closure was his grief and all of that
Moon
stuff.
Knight we're going to get.
The closure was going to your family, having the grief, going back in time and dealing with that. Not
understand. I'm with you for that personality. That is his closure. But there's no. Listen, if this is the only Moon Knight we get, then this is
not going
shit.
to be. It's not going to be.
Doesn't matter. That you can't put it on.
All signs point to that it is. And if this is all we get, then this is a shit way to end it. That is all I'm saying. If I get a season 2, this will probably move up in.
But will it go up because of the story they do in season 2, or just because you got a season 2?
No, it all depends on what the story of season 2 is. If it goes back and delves deeper into personality number 3 and more stuff like that, then yeah, like again, it all depends on season 2. But the fact of the matter is, we don't have a season 2 yet. Period. We don't even know. We were all convinced he was going to show up in Werewolf by Night because that's where he made his first appearance. It made sense. He didn't show up there either. I don't think we're ever going to see Moon Knight again.
I don't know if I agree with that. And I think that having the two characters that we know, Steven and Mark, both just kind of like, yeah, we're not going to do that. And then come to, and you're like, there's Jake Lockley. Where is he? Right. And you don't see him again until the end. That's the story. Like, that's what I care about. And that's what they did. I love that the fact that there is no closure for Steven and Mark is the story for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I can understand you going, I just don't know where to put this, so here you go. I'm very conflicted about it. I'm very conflicted about it, so I don't know where to put it. Here it is. I get it.
At the end of the day is how I feel. I agree with all of you that is a great story. I do think I'm trying to justify where I put it because I didn't know where to put it. But I mean, if I have to justify it, then that is why. Like, I do think it could have ended a little bit better. Other than that, I love the series. We spent an entire podcast talking about the series. I loved it.
Yep.
I'm all for it.
I'm gonna add one to the list that you guys don't have, so this way it can just be here. And again, I'm on a scale of 17. My number 11, kind of middle of the pack, is the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Only one thing is really kind of added or explained that will obviously be re-explained in another Guardians thing. It was just
middle
silly.
Of the pack is 9. Just 9 is middle of the pack. 9 is direct middle.
Direct middle, right?
For you, yes.
For everyone. For anyone with 17, it would be 8 and then 1 and then 8. Middle of the pack is 9.
It's close to middle of the pack.
No,
it's fine.
No.
It has a proximity to the middle. All right, then it's number 11. Suck it up and deal with it. All right, it's number 11. It was fine. It was silly, but there's other things that are better than that. Watch it and disagree. Fine.
So Josh right above What If had Werewolf by Night, and I have that higher.
I have that.
I have Black Widow, and you had that lower. Josh, where do you have Black Widow?
6. No, I've discussed everything up to 9.
He's discussed pretty much his entire list.
Yeah,
but
he really
in depth,
has. He really got it all.
we're up to like 9.
All right, I've got Hawkeye on my number 10.
I disagree.
Yeah, 3.
Hey, 3 for me too.
Yeah.
Good.
Hawkeye was great.
I can see your case for it. It was a lot of fun. I just enjoyed other things a little bit more than Hawkeye.
Do you have Spider-Man, WandaVision, and Hawkeye at 1, 2, and 3?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, you two are. The Bernsteins are peas in a pod. Absolutely. That makes sense.
We're not. I've argued with him for like multiple.
No, for the top 3. Absolutely. You guys should be peas. If you're not the same top 3, I'd be worried. Okay. I really would. I would put you guys in counseling at that point. I knew something would be off. The pandemic.
No counseling necessary, friend.
Let me say, and I think I know for a fact because we recorded it. I'm on the record saying that I loved Werewolf by Night.
Yeah.
I have to put it lower on my list. Because I don't know if we're ever going to see anything like it ever again. There was no other, it's a Halloween special, and it's great. It was excellent, and I loved it. But I want more of it, and so far, there's not going to be that. So maybe, and then maybe I'll like it more. But
well, maybe they do more Halloween specials, more Werewolf by Night in particular. Maybe they do a Midnight Suns movie, and him and Moon Knight and show up with Blade. That would be great.
That'd be amazing.
But yeah, I have Werewolf by Night it's actually 5. It's 5th on my list. And I'm not going to go into detail. We've already been recording for well over an hour. My son's about to wake up. But I think we talked about it in depth as to why I enjoyed that short and why I want to see more of it and why, what ramifications it could have on the universe as a whole if we decided it to be. I'm excited. I thought it was great.
Josh, it's on my exact middle of the pack then. I put it at 8 because I thought it was a good one-off story. Nice.
The pack is 9 because you have the top 8
you
and then you have
9.
the one in the middle.
Top
and
8,
then you have the
bottom 8, and then 9.
Fine, I forgot.
What's at your 9?
She-Hulk.
Okay, I have Loki at 9.
I have Loki at 7.
That's fine.
I think Loki.
Great show.
And you know what? Let's talk about this in tandem because I have She-Hulk at 8.
Okay.
So I have She-Hulk at 5.
Okay. I think Loki was fun. I think it suffers from exposition dump at the end. I understand why it is, but I do think it grinds to a halt.
Just the third act. Let's just stop all the momentum and do this.
Well, because
the survive.
But I think
the one
it's
who remains.
But let's face it, it's the foundation of what Kang is going to be built on, which is Kang is a huge part. So I understand why you had to do it, but the show does suffer because of it.
I agree.
Josh, anything you want to say? Really?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, by the way, Owen Wilson, breath of fucking fresh. I did not expect to like him at all in this.
Because the more I've watched Loki 4 times now.
Wow. I didn't even mean for that. Damn it.
And I have a real problem with I think they really missed what they could have done with Sylvie.
Yeah. Agreed.
They turn Sylvie into a love interest and what a narcissistic thing. Yeah. Okay, sure. You fell in love with yourself. Okay. They could have made Sylvie all of the things that Loki wishes he could have been, or could have done, or things that he misses about his mother, about Thor, about all of this could have been the person he laid it on the line for because he regrets not having done that all of this time, not because he has romantic feelings for her.
Yeah, agreed. I also think, this is a different Loki though, right? This is Loki immediately after Avengers. So there is a lot of that baggage that you're referencing that he has not been through yet.
No, he watched it. He watched it happen.
But he did watch it, right?
Yeah. Right. So, but at the moment he watched it, he experiences it, right? And the Loki that we see in 2012 that gets grabbed by the time cops there. The time cops.
That's what they are.
I know. It's just funny.
Right. So he didn't have any of the redemption, right, that came through Ragnarok and so on and so forth, and died. Doesn't have that stuff, but gets to that place through this journey, and now we have Loki. The Loki the Loki that died, that's the Loki we have now again in the multiverse. But damn it, it didn't have to be a romantic thing. It shouldn't be a romantic thing.
It shouldn't, yeah.
And it was, and it shouldn't be. And damn it, Jonathan Majors, gimme, like he is unbelievably good.
Oh, he's great. He is so good. Just in general, but what I will say is, I mean, we know Loki season 2 is coming, so is that an opportunity?
That was a great surprise, by the way.
I recall being put on record that out of all these Disney Plus shows, that Loki was the most viable one for season 2. So
correct.
That makes sense.
I will say that.
But at the time,
I was right.
It was pitched as, this is it, y'all.
I know what it was pitched at. But,
I'm like,
I just want to. Can we just take a moment and bask in the fact that I was right? Okay. 1 second. All right, your basking can stop. Now, I agree with Josh on everything, and that's also part of the reason why it's a little lower on my list. And what I will say is, season 2 is coming, and if we could have more of here's the interesting part of Loki for me. It's the Booster Gold story of, here's a guy who loves attention, who wants nothing but attention from his brother, from his father, from the world, right? And now he is the hero that everyone knows he could have been. No one will ever know about it.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the interesting part of this series for me. And I again, this first season was pure setup for Kang. But I think that's what I need to see more of in season 2 for me to really be like, oh yeah, this show's amazing, right? Mm-hmm. I want to move on, and I'm going to shift gears. No offense to you, CJ, or how you do your lists. But A, you're wrong. And B, I feel like since our lists are so all over the place, I thought they would be closer aligned. I'm not going to lie. Let's just take each project as it goes, and then we're just going to say, hey, here's where it landed on my list so we can talk about it, right? So we've already tackled Eternals, Thor, Love and Thunder, Falcon Winter Soldier, Doctor Strange, Moon Knight, Black Widow, and Loki by my summation. Is there anything that you guys want to say about any of those things, or why they are on your list, where they're at?
No, we've said them.
Cool. So moving on, I do want to, we're just going to go by my list, and then you guys can tell me where you have it on your list. I do have She-Hulk above Loki, which I guess would be right up but in the middle of my list. I don't know. I didn't do the math. But this would be 8. I mean, it's 15. It's hard to be right in the middle, right?
That's dead center. 8 is dead center.
So
7, then 1, then 7. What is the problem with you guys today?
It's like calendar math for us, Josh.
It is very much like calendar math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so She-Hulk would be dead center.
Listen, I really like She-Hulk. It's been bouncing. I swap between She-Hulk and Loki and Werewolf. My bottom ones on that one, they've just been bouncing around. It's a fluid scale of that one.
So the thing that makes She-Hulk middle, and Josh and I talked about this for 45 minutes about how much I love She-Hulk. I think that She-Hulk has the exact opposite issue that every other series has, which is this one sticks to landing, and then everything before it is just very much like okay, thing of the week. And I was okay with the thing of the week, right? I was okay with like, hey, let's do a funny trial, but like, and then like trying to figure out like the overarching story. That's it's not that it's any bad. It's just, it's good. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the ending. I thought the ending recontextualized the entire series. If it weren't for that ending, it probably would be lower on my list.
Yep.
Your guys Josh, I think you said it was 5 on your list, right?
Yeah, I have it 5, and I think that it's it was kind of a breath of fresh air in terms of how the series was made and played out. I thought it was really different from the what we've seen from all the other Marvel series. Each of them was a little different, but this was, I thought, very different. Mm-hmm. Right, in the same way that Wanda was very different. Mm. This was kind of like, did anybody else here expect like a one night stand to scandalize She-Hulk? I did not.
Right.
No, that was very.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it was just, it was unexpected. It was unexpected and a breath of fresh air in that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus,
CJ?
Daredevil. Like,
Well, I mean, come on.
that was so.
Daredevil.
And I like the fact that that this show did exactly what we were talking about, right? We said that this phase basically gave the keyboard warrior, I should write MCU stuff, the big middle finger, called him out as the villain in this show. And I think, again, to your point, Brian, really slow at the beginning, but really fucking stuck the landing, right? The inverse problem that we had with other ones.
Yeah.
So love it a lot.
So next on my list, we glossed over this because you both already said it on your list, but I have What If at 7. And so I will give a little moment to defend why I have it so far higher than you guys do. And I think when it comes to What If, for me, my biggest complaint about What If is that certain stories don't really end. They're just very open-ended. Which is by design, but also because that's what the way the What If comic book was, right? It was like, what if Spider-Man was more spider than man? And then it's just like, oh, well, hey, here's his life now. And it never really ended. So I get it. But at the same time, I like the fact that it introduced, not just the multiverse, but it introduced a lot of like really cool concepts, cool characters. Obviously, Captain Carter was a big highlight. The zombies was a big highlight. Ultron
got redemption in this.
Redeemed in this series, right? Whereas, you mean Ultron is actually a badass who could destroy the entire multiverse? Yes, please, right? I think that's, and even different views on some of our heroes, right? Seeing T'Challa being the leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy, like that was a great episode. It was fun, and it was interesting to see. Oh, well, hey, one stupid little change, what effects that has on the universe as a whole, right? And I enjoy stuff like that. This is the theorization part of me going, oh, that would be cool. What if this happened? What if that happened, right? That's why I have it much higher on my list. Now, I need you all to tell me why you have it so low on your lists.
I think we kind of said earlier, like it was fine, it was fun. I just think other projects were better than it. And in the sense that they'll also connect and pay off later. And I don't think What If is, I think there are going to be some payoffs to it. Oh, but it's going to be one of those, you watched What If, so you know this. But the rest of it, it's not that impactful, right? So, I don't think we're going to see the What If Ultron ever show up again. I don't think the Watcher's going to show up in any of these actual projects. So, like, again, really cool. What If is a one-off storyline thing. It was fun, but no broader implications.
It's so funny because I literally just saw an article saying that they're talking about bringing Ultron back into the MCU.
Well, they need to, but I don't think
they absolutely do. They need to give him some legitimate redemption, right? Whether it be the Ultron that we saw in What If or not, who knows? I mean, the Ultron we saw in What If I recall correctly, is trapped in a pocket universe that Evil Strange is watching over, fighting Killmonger. Like frozen in time, almost, if I recall correctly. So, yeah, me too, CJ. So, I think there are plenty of things that did right. This is one of those series, because this is the anthology theory series, I think it can have a few stinkers and still be ranked high, still be good overall, right? Like the Twilight Zone, not every episode of the Twilight Zone is a banger, but there are really good things, and that's what we remember the show for.
Mulaney, we all love Mom, okay? Like, we all love Mom. We're just not looking for her Christmas gift right now. We just know that she'll love whatever we give her.
You didn't get Mom a Christmas gift already? You really need to get on that.
I'll get her something, I promise. She'll love it anyway. Just the thought that matters.
So, my next three, I think we've already exhausted. So, unless you guys have anything to add to the conversation as far as Miss Marvel, Werewolf by Night, and Shang-Chi goes,
nope.
I think we're good to jumping to my top three. Which are the same as Josh's top three.
Can I just do the one thing that obviously that's on the omission list, which is Wakanda Forever, right? I have it in my number 4 spot. It is the way that they deal with T'Challa is fantastic. The story can get a little slow at times. However, this thing keeps you on a ride the entire time. And I think they do a fantastic job with this story, with moral choices, with basically some of the things that we kind of saw in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but done again in a story that's only 2.5 hours, and they do a great job of putting it together. So I don't want to give any spoilers. I don't want to put any expectations out there for you guys. That's why I'm keeping it super vague. But number 4 spot could fluctuate to my number 3 depending on how I feel during the day.
Let's talk about Hawkeye, because Josh and I have it at our number 3. CJ had it at like number 10. Because
I didn't like the
CJ is wrong.
I didn't like the additional story arcs that were in there that weren't fun or anything.
So real quick, CJ, being as you're working with 2 extra pieces, right? What was your number 3? Was that Black Panther?
Number 3 was Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel. Okay, so we already talked about that.
I'm a millennial and I loved it.
So Hawkeye, Josh, I would love to hear Hawkeye number 3. Why?
I think that in the same way that for a lot of the same reasons I liked Falcon and Winter Soldier as a storyline, Clint still dealing with all of these things, right? So Clint is still very much dealing with the fallout, and he's done. He's done with. I'm done with being Hawkeye. I'm done with being an Avenger. I don't want to be thanked for it. I don't want to be reminded of it. Like, I just want to move on with I just want to be dad, and I want to have a Christmas and whatever. And here comes all of these things to kind of ruin his holiday. Which I thought, like, in like true Clint Barton fashion, he just kind of went, all right, well, here's the thing in front of me that I have to deal with now. I'm just going to deal with it the best way I know how. And like, did it with humor, did it with grace, just accepted the situation and kind of went through it. And while he did that, begrudgingly took Kate Bishop under his wing, and started, essentially fostering her, which is kind of great. Because I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting very much the way it started, right, with like a surly Batman, giddy Robin type. See what I'm saying?
That's a great characterization of it. I like it.
And I thought it was going to stay that way, and it really developed very quickly with Clint acknowledging that she's got some skill, but also being like, look, your skill doesn't make up for my wisdom, and here's why. You have a lot to learn, and that was kind of awesome. I did not expect to have the Kingpin tie-in.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Look, this was a very, very fun, very like, in a lot of ways, kind of Old Man Logan. You know what I mean? Like, he was just deteriorating in front of you and still chugging along.
He was the person of, I'm not a superhero. I'm just a dude. And like, I'm hanging out with gods. And I go through a plate glass window and I'm fucked up.
He's like, I did a lot of time in the military, guys. I don't have, like, I can't do anything.
I'm not ready. And that was a very fun facet to explore. Because I think, again, it shows the human side of all of this.
Right.
And the joke is, Hawkeye has no superpowers. How could it be an Avenger? Well, dude, the fact that he can do all that and still hang, good on him.
It means he's more Avenger than some others. And quite frankly, it's the John McClane characterization. It's I'm gonna walk around Nakatomi Plaza, picking glass out of my feet. But I am the only
pair of shoes.
Right, but I'm the only person. Like, I'm in it now. Yeah. I'm gonna make sure we get out of this okay, right? And like, and that is right on the money, Josh. That's why I love this series. I think Jeremy Renner does a great job of doing the old man talking to himself with the bag of broccoli on his head, like. Yep. Nursing his sores and stuff. And God, I love Haley Steinfeld just in anything, but she's so great in this.
She's amazing.
She's wonderful. She's badass. This is a perfect, like, melting pot of humanity and organized crime and plucky sidekick. Like, it was all the things. And Christmas.
Plucky, not sexy, which is
right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, I like, if you can give me more, like, these, there's a lot of over sexualizing the female characters. They did it. Like I said, they did it with Sylvie. They shouldn't have. Why? Right? Mm-hmm. You didn't have to.
Nope.
Certainly they did it with Scarlett Johansson and Florence Pugh. They didn't have to, but they did. They didn't do it with Haley Steinfeld, and I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just think she is, I think this is a perfect introduction for her, right? I think this is the series that says not just, oh, this is why Hawkeye's a superhero, but this is why Hawkeye is an Avenger. This is why Hawkeye is badass. This is why you should like Hawkeye. You want to talk about a redemption for a character. This series, quite frankly, the Avengers movies never knew what to do with Hawkeye, couldn't really do anything with Hawkeye because he's standing next to Captain America and the Hulk and Iron Man. Now we get to show and showcase what a badass he is and
Make
how
him evil.
good
Put him in a lab.
Yeah, make him evil. Put him in the lab. He gets knocked out, or like he gives some rousing speech to Quicksilver, which ends up getting him killed. Like it's just like they never nailed Hawkeye until this series and I would argue Endgame.
Now, my one critique for this show, and I'm curious if maybe you guys can either turn me around or just say, yeah, but everything else overshadows it, was the Maya Lopez character on her. I love the inclusion of her. I think she did a fine job. It's nothing against her, just her story to me was like,
yeah, but everything
really
else
You're
overshadows
just tying up the Ronin storyline.
It's a tie up to the Ronin storyline, but it's also, this is another thing of, and this
didn't need. It was like the last remnant.
No, tie up Ronin. I didn't need Maya's.
But this is the introduction of her. You're going to get an Echo series, and I think now,
I guess
okay,
that's it then.
We don't need to go through. Oh, here's who she is, and here's what her story is all about. We know
Backdoor
it, right?
pilot Echo. Gotcha.
Backdoor pilot for Echo. I'm fine with it. Everything else overshadows it. I don't need. And I thought she was great. I thought what she was in it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Moving on to WandaVision, which is Josh's and mine number 2.
Mine too.
Is it yours as well?
Number 2 also.
So we're all in agreement on our top 2.
What is it? What is grief if not love repeating?
No, it's the love persisting.
Persisting.
I'm not going to go into that, but what I will say is what I love about this was the first Disney Plus show, and it was just such a swing for the fences. I love the style of every episode is a different decade of old sitcom television. I love the tropes on the, married with children sitcom life between Witch and a cyborg, right? Not even a cyborg. He is an android. I just think this show gets extra points for kicking off the Disney Plus shows extremely well. Gets extra points for tying up some loose ends that we had with Scarlet Witch and Vision in Infinity War. But it also gets all the bonus points for taking 2 nothing characters who kind of show up in, honestly, and take a backseat in the Avengers films and giving them a real fleshed out story. And you get why they're in love. You get why it makes everything in Avengers between the 2 of them really make a lot of sense. And I love the show for it. And, again, a big old middle finger to all the keyboard warriors with the Quicksilver.
New Rockstar's YouTube video where Mephisto is everywhere. Fuck you. I love that they just got
Mephisto, and hey, we're gonna have Evan Peters show up as Pietro, but he's not Pietro.
Loved it.
And it's just again if the thesis of MCU Phase 4 is we're not gonna let any idiot talk us out of the good ideas that we have, this most certainly got it kicked off to a good start.
I love that happened.
Josh, any additional thoughts on WandaVision?
Yeah, I think that you nailed most of it. I like that this moved, and not just like you said, 2 characters that the Avengers or the Infinity Saga didn't do a whole lot with. I think that Wanda was a key character in the Infinity Saga, but her only, all we knew about her, right, was that she misses her brother and she loves Vision, right? So added some serious depth, a ton of depth. It also, a couple of the things that it did, right? It legitimized, damn it. Close-up magic FBI agent. It legitimized him.
Oh, Ray Park's character.
Ray Park's character, yes. It legitimized him. It gave Monica Rambeau a really good jump off.
Also
Tiana Paris, by the way, who I love. I think she's an amazing actress.
So Ray Park's character is Jimmy Woo.
Jimmy Woo.
Yeah.
And I'll also
Agent
add to that list Kat Dennings' character, Darcy.
Yes. She got her PhD. You.
Right. So it did a bunch of different stuff, and it managed to introduce several new characters or advance in Dr. Darcy Lewis's case, one character. It introduced Sword without making it a big thing. Like, it just brought it in. So because you know damn well that's gonna play in.
It's gonna be in Secret Invasion, guaranteed.
Right. So, but it's like, okay, these characters, like Agent Wu was not a one-off, right? We're gonna have him involved. Agatha Harkness, we have to imagine
she already has her own series.
She has her own series coming in 2023,
and the depth that they added to Wanda. Really moving her to the front. Like, hey, look, if it hasn't been clear to this point, we're going to be focusing on this character going forward.
Only to be undone in Multiverse of Madness.
I don't think it was. I don't think
it totally was undone. But there's a lot of space between this and
not
Multiverse.
From lack of trying, okay?
I'm looking forward to the Agatha Harkness show. And the other standout in this series for me is Catherine Hahn. I mean, I think she was wonderful. And I think this is the show that made everybody like, oh, Catherine Hahn, she's
great in everything.
She's great in everything. But everybody knew that who was a fan until this show. And then now everybody's on board. Now everybody's like, oh, Catherine Hahn is great in everything. Yes, she is, right?
That's when they look back and look, wait, she was in that, and she was in that, and she was in that.
And quite frankly, Elizabeth Olsen has been great in everything that I see her in too. So like
going all the way back to like Old Boy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, again, as a startup point for minor characters and exploring them in more depth, we're going to see Vision again. We have the white brainwash Vision coming around. I also think this other show's strength is at least in part they do deal with the aftermath of the blip, and there's discussion about the blip, which not anything else in Phase 4 besides Falcon and Winter Soldier really
actually
discuss.
Addressed. Yeah. And I think this again is the prime example of really complex stuff you want to carry, turn into a series. Again, why Eternals is on the bottom of the list and why WandaVision is at the top, right? This is literally the example of why we feel that way.
And we've talked about No Way Home about a million.
There's no, listen, so we can't say anything original about No Way Home. It's everything has already been said about it.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this shit.
This was the longest thing, but you know what? I love the fact that our list isn't a one-to-one, that we all don't match along the way. I love that the Bernstins, though, do match your top and bottoms. I think that says a lot about your relationship, and I'll let you decide what...
matching tops and bottoms, yes.
Listen, whichever one wants to figure out which is which. That's up to you. I appreciate the fact, though, that we all kind of looked at this in a different way, came out with different expectations and different plans for what's coming up in the future. But at the end of the day, we all still love, what we've got. So thank you for taking the time to do this. Ryan, anything you want to say that's smarter and a better send-off? For Josh, anything that's a better send-off than that? Because that was pretty garbage.
I mean, Josh, I love you. And I'm glad.
Right back at you.
I'm glad we match a lot.
The Bernstein.
No, I don't have.
Are you guys getting your own Disney Plus show
Soon?
Yeah, we're in talks. We're talking
hold on. Can we take a moment? We didn't actually bask in something.
Right after Midnight Suns introduces Aaron Paul as Ghost
Rider. That's what
there
we need.
You go.
All right, there is one thing that I do need to end the show with, where we do have to bask in someone being absolutely correct. And let's bask for 5 seconds in Brian being 100% correct about Charlie Cox coming back as Daredevil in the face of all the adversity that came with that opinion.
Yes. It's good to be right. It really is.
Hold on, enjoy it. Okay, it's all done. All right. Well, listeners, this is where we turn it over to you. I will be posting in the show notes the lists right here. There is no definitive That Kind of Nerd list, but the definitive That Kind of Nerd list should be Josh's, if we all understand the whirlings of definitive lists. So check out our list. I put them here in the show notes. You'll see them on Letterboxd. But please tell us what you think about the rankings. I'd love for you to just tell me how absolutely wrong I am. Ready to be destroyed in any tweets, IMs, Mastodon posts, whatever you are nowadays. Go ahead and let me know. So thank you so much for making us your walk around your neighborhood, your drive to work, or whatever it is we are in your life.
Use Hive, bro.
No. Oh my God, don't use Hive. Please don't use Hive.
Everybody on the Twitter's going to Hive.
That Kind of Nerd is on Mastodon.
Nobody's using Mastodon.
Well, welcome to the club, cause you are that kind of nerd.